Hi and welcome back to the Destination Marketing Store video blog. Today I have with me friend and colleague Tom Kelsall. Hi Tom, how are you?
I'm well, Charlotte, how are you?
That's great. The reason I asked Tom to join us today is because he's an executive coach, farmer and consultant, and we've done a little bit of work together looking at why is it that some tourism operators are more successful than others, even though they might suffer from the same external forces, you know, like a GFC, etc. So I was telling Tom that I was wondering this, and he said, I think we can do a project together so we can dig in and find out. And using some cutting edge technology, we've actually been able to come up with a model that shows what makes a tourism operator more successful than perhaps others. Tom, would you perhaps like to share the process we went through?
Sure. Look, I think this is really the new frontier in business management. It's about thinking about how you think. Have you ever thought about that? Because so often we're doing stuff without thinking that perhaps our patterns of thinking are habitual and they may not be getting us the best results we want. At the same time, we have patterns of thinking that are so strong and so powerful that help us succeed. But what is our mix? And that's what we decided to do, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It's benchmark the top 10 tourist operators that we could find around Australia, ranging from $200,000 businesses to 10 million.
Yeah.
And see what are their thinking patterns that drive their success. And so that's what we did. We benchmarked it. We did it in a statistical significant analysis of those thinking patterns.
And we also found there was a pattern, that they had similar thinking styles and thinking patterns, really, which is what we set out to actually do, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's. I'm thinking that we're a bit like Margaret and David at the moment, but they were. That's what my point is. They were statistically significant, and we used Carl Harshman, a PhD from the US, to help us define that. And so we came up with three areas, with three mindsets that we found these business people all had.
Yeah, and it was quite exciting, wasn't it? Because they all had, but it was statistically significant that they had these. So do you want to share what you actually discovered? Because you interviewed these people as well as doing the process, didn't you?
So I interviewed all of them for about an hour based on their results of IWAM, which is a psychometric test. It stands for Inventory of Motivation and Work Attitude. That test is unlike any other psychometric test. I've never liked them in the past because they tend to put people in boxes.
Yes.
But this looks at 48 little software programs we've all got running in the back of our minds as to how strong they're at running and how much of them we use and how effective they are for us in our businesses. And those software patterns kind of tell us, where am I putting my attention in the world? And when I put my attention on that, how do I evaluate it? And we found that the three main mindsets these people had is, one, they had a mindset of vision. Two, they were strong leaders. They believed in themselves and what they were doing and their vision, and no one was going to deter them from that path. And the third one was they knew how to implement it and make sure that they could do that systematically.
That's amazing, isn't it? Because we thought there probably would be a pattern, and there definitely was. But can you share a little bit with us about each of those particular mindsets?
Look, there was 3 to 4 of those of IWAM meta programs. That's the psychology jargon, or the thinking motivators and attitudes. 3 to 4 under each of those that we found statistically were stronger than the Australian average.
Wow, and what were they?
So, for example, one under the vision area was breadth. These people love and are motivated to think about the big picture. They don't get bogged down in the details and the hows and all the little details of things. They're interested in the big whys. Why am I doing this? What's important about this? Then under leadership, these people, as I said before, they believed in their vision and they believed in themselves, and no one could deter that. I call this the J.K. Rowling's pattern. She had a book manuscript turned away from 10 different publishers, and she became a billionaire, and all the evidence said it was crap, it was no good, but she knew in her heart and soul, no evidence, but she believed in herself. And the third one, for example, in implementation was they have a focus on systems. They value systems, they value the repeatability of that to run their business, but also to give their customers a repeatable experience.
So in summary of those particular outcomes, and there's a lot more to it that we benchmark, but we're just sharing some of the top lines. So the things you can be aware of: do you have a clear vision? Do you think big picture? And have you shared that vision?
Yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah, with leadership, it's about having some trust and some faith in yourself. You can collect information from other sources, but you make the final decision. After all, it is your business.
Exactly.
And finally, the third one, implementing. It's about having systems in place so you can have a repeat, cost-effective experience, not just for your customers, but make it easy for your staff to implement it.
Absolutely, yeah. So they're things that you can think about. And the other is, shall we share the next steps with people?
Yes.
Which is, we're going to take this benchmarking system Australia-wide to as many people who want to get involved as possible. Because now we've got the baseline, you can come along and you can compare yourself or benchmark yourself to these operators.
And what about those people who, when they hear, I can benchmark myself, it gets on, what happens if I fail?
Yeah, like, oh, well, they've discovered I'm an axe murderer.
Yeah. Or I shouldn't be in business. However, there is a complete upside to all of this.
Well, absolutely. There's 48 different meta programs or thinking styles here. Everyone, I'm forever amazed about the wonderfulness of human nature. Everyone I do this with, and it's lots and lots of people now, I go, wow, you've got this and this and this. How does that work out for you? And they go, well, actually. And then, but I'd like to be a bit better in these areas. So it's really about playing to your strengths and enjoying that, and then playing around, working with the edges here of the areas you can develop to move up to the levels of some of these other people who have been benchmarked, working out what's holding you back that you could add to your strengths to take you to the top of your game, if that's where you want to be.
And there was one other thing that really came home to me too at the very end of this process. I think about 8 out of the 10 had something else, what we have referred to as the X factor. They had a purpose much bigger than themselves.
And that, sorry.
Yes, no, go.
Sorry, Margaret.
Yes, David.
and that really comes out in the vision. They connect to that purpose. That's part of their vision. And then they implement it because they believe in themselves. They believe it.
So I think this system has a really amazing opportunity to help operators to step up and be who they can be, to be the best they can be. It's not about doing a comparison you'll fail. It's about saying you've already got some amazing talents, but wouldn't just imagine your future if you actually implemented some of these learnings we've got from these successful operators, and you too could step up into that 10 great operators.
Yes, of course, absolutely. So as we wind this up now, I hope people have enjoyed stopping for a moment, and if you haven't yet, just thinking about your thinking, and then thinking about that. And how do they find out more? Okay,
well, they can just contact us at the Destination Marketing Store to follow up, and if you want to find out more about how you do the benchmarking program, we will get you in contact with Tom, who can help you with do that piece of work, and make the next 12 months a much more exciting 12 months perhaps than the last 12 months has been. So Tom, thank you for joining us.
That's a pleasure, and I hope it's been really useful for people.
And we'll see you next time at the Destination Marketing Store blog. See you next time.